Hey, we're about to go live on YouTube for the first 30 minutes. All right, here we go. Hello to everybody. Hello to everybody in Zoom. And we are live on YouTube right now for the first portion of today's event. So if you're joining in on YouTube, go ahead and let us know as well where you're from, where you're tuning in from. And I'm going to check in with the chat here. Welcome, Angela. We got Wilmington, North Carolina in the house. We got Lynn from Brentwood, Tennessee, Annie from Australia, Nancy from Michigan. We got Linda representing Pennsylvania today. Washington in the house too, and we have Germany as well. Welcome everybody. And welcome to everybody in the Zoom room knows what we're about to experience. But for everybody that's tuning in on YouTube, this is the what we're doing. This is the flow. Today, I'm doing a presentation called Reptilians, DNA Wars, Galactic History, and Stargates to Earth. And when I get into the presentation, we'll be explaining why we're doing this presentation, what this information represents. But what I wanted to do is before we do that, we're live on YouTube because I want to go ahead and bring on a couple of individuals here, Bridget Renee Holiday and Loriette, which are other representatives, I would say, of Orion. And my intention with today is to not only go deep into the story and really paint a picture for like actual occurrences and what happened, but also to create a fuller understanding of what this really means for our consciousness and the evolution of humanity, what kind of threads that we brought from Orion. And ultimately, the whole purpose for everything I would say that we do, even if it's a story such as this, is for some level of for healing, or maybe the better term is a level of cultivating harmony within the cosmos, you know. And from this regression I just had with Bridget Renee Holiday about a week ago now, it's only been a week, we went even deeper and I had to wait until that regression in order to fill in the gaps in my awareness. And since then, a lot of memories have been coming back. So we're going to be discussing that. But I want to bring Bridget on because not only does she do the regression for me, but she also has a huge connection to a lot of the information that's being shared, especially when it comes to reptilians and what that really represents for humanity, what the relationship is with the reptilian energy, and Loriette as well. If you've seen anything from Loriette, you know that she has a deep connection and she is the ambassador for Orion's belt. But before I bring them on, I'm gonna ask you guys one more question. I'm very curious, what brought you to this event? Why did you feel compelled to join this event? Was it out of curiosity? Was it do you have a connection to Orion? Do you feel that maybe you are an Orion star seed? Do you have memories from Orion? And if all, I mean, I don't expect every one of you to say something here, but if a few of you can maybe just chime in at least and let me know because I'm so curious as to what really brings someone to this specific awareness, right? Is there some sort of connection? Could we have even experienced lives together in Orion? And I'm at an awareness now. I'm at an awareness now that when we do these specific types of events, these niche events, whether we're going to the Mayan Peninsula, whether we're going to Glastonbury, a lot of the people that end up going, maybe if everyone has a connection to that area. And quite possibly when we went to Egypt, I really felt that all of us had a life together in Egypt, that we all had some sort of interaction and connection, and these soul groups are coming back together. So when it comes to this event, Orion event, I have a feeling that's what's going on too. So let's see here. We have a few messages coming in. Just going to read these. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Linda. Curiosity, yes. And a lot of times the curiosity is just the entry level because then it gets even deeper. The curiosity ends up becoming something that we actually have some sort of life with, some sort of incarnational experience with. And we have Kyla saying, told as part of an Orion council and took important role in the hybrid program, was manipulated into believing it was notable and was betrayed in participating. That's very interesting. And I'm just going to check in with YouTube here as well, see if we have any comments there. And for everybody tuning in on YouTube, if you want to be part of the actual presentation that we're going to be doing in about 30 minutes after Bridget and Loriette go on, you can go to portal2ascension.org and you can sign up there, and it's under upcoming events. It's the first one. Wow, we already got lots of people in YouTube actually tuning in. So I'm going to put the link in on YouTube. Okay, I'm going to put the link here on YouTube for you guys if you want to join in on it. And we'll pin it up here. And I'm gonna read some more of these comments because I want to make this as interactive as possible. We're gonna be hearing stories. My God, so many layers to this thing. Again, I don't want to go on a rant right now because if I go on a rant on what it took to put this together, we'd get too deep into it. But I put the link there. I pinned it. If you guys want to join, go ahead, go to the website and tune in there. And then let's see some more comments. We got Maria wants to learn more. You must act now to save the biosphere. I've always had an interest since I was a child. Definitely an Orion starseed. Curiosity and divine timing. Intuition sent me here. I am not human. So there's going to be, and maybe when we're done, we can ask this again, just to see if there's any memories that get sparked here. Lynn says, I've been working with the Stargate and Orion since the late 90s and the Masters there. Oh my God, Lynn. I can't wait to hear your input on what's going to be shared today. To bask in the unified field of Star Family, absorb potent information, remember, activate, expand. Jenica says, I felt connected with Orion since I was a child. Lately, I've been doing a deep dive on human history and learning the truth of where we originated and why we collectively have amnesia now. Learn more about the reptiles. Chantel says, I'm connected to Orion. It's been very intense over the past years. The connections and memories were activated about 18 months ago. Chantel, same here. Same here. I would say around just over a year ago, when I had the dragon regression, that if you guys want to see the dragon one, it's on my YouTube channel. You can check that out there. But when I did the dragon regression and my memories on the dragons, that is what sparked this Orion thing. Because I saw when I asked the dragons, why am I seeing this? They showed me Orion. And so I wanted to go deeper into Orion. Okay, do we have anything else here? All right. And then Val is saying, I am Orion. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. And as I was sharing to everybody tuning on YouTube, if you want to join the actual presentation and register for that, that's going to happen after the next two presenters go onto the website. So let's start out by bringing on, I think we should start out with Bridget Renee Holiday. Let's go ahead and bring on my good friend, Bridget. I think you should be able to start your camera, Bridget. Here we go. Hey, Bridget, welcome.
Hi, Neil. This has been a long time coming, and I know
I
I'm
know.
so excited.
Me too, me too. So I'm excited to I can't wait to share so much of this and see your perspective on it as well, because as I just shared with everybody, obviously most of this came from you. And you know how you said that a lot of memories are going to come afterwards?
Yep.
Yeah, they did. And then as I've been doing this presentation, and I've been in Orion all day. I've been making my presentation for 8 hours today, 8 hours on this
Oh
presentation.
my God.
And I was having anxiety feelings. I was having mini panic attacks. I was having emotional like outbursts. And every time I was creating an image, it was reminding me of deeper information. And then sometimes I would create an image and then I would write about it and I would look at it and it was exactly how it was. And it was like looking at exactly what occurred. And I didn't realize how heavy it would have been just to have looked at this. And while we're doing this, we're actually pulling on those memories. So yeah, it's been a deep and long process. So I'm excited to finally be here now, just to go into it.
And I just want to say to everyone that's listening and watching, when we go into these remembrances of our lives and expressions beyond Earth, every time we feel that emotion, every time we honor it and let it move through us, every time we drop into our heart space by putting our attention and focus on love, and we allow ourselves the forgiveness and the love and all of those deep dives, because of how the human experience is woven into this universe, it ripples out healing throughout time and space and dimension. So it
Yeah.
ripples out that epiphany that comes through the healing, those moments of tapping into that greater knowledge and wisdom that our soul holds. They all offer everyone something. So not just our life here on earth and our beautiful collective that we're living with right in this moment, but also throughout the timelines of all of the lives and expressions on earth that were affected in some way by these deep traumas, or even these beautiful, like uplifting, expansive moments that happen as well, because there's both in Orion. And it gives us this opportunity to sort of be a conduit in the 0 point, rippling out into the unity field. And I really believe, Neil, like you, that if they're here, if anyone is here, you're watching this on a replay, you're here with us now on YouTube, you're going to join the event as it begins in about probably 25 minutes. Whether you're curious, whether you've heard a bunch of rabbit holes about how things went, whether you've bought into a lot of the narratives that are happening now on Earth with humans about Orion and see Orion as like this great evil, or whether you believe because you feel a deep connection to Orion that you are, somehow a part of this story that has unfolded. And what, if we're looking at human linear time, this would have been ancient history. This isn't something that happened in the last, like, recent time during our lifetime, or even the lifetimes just before us, the generations
Yeah.
before us. So I really believe if you're here for any of those reasons or anything, that you've got some kind of connection, and you can access this through intention, through desire, through opening your channels to be able to access your soul's knowledge and wisdom. You can do it like a lot of people do, myself included, through channeling, through tapping in and channeling and communicating with your high self in quantum hypnotherapy, which is what Neil has done for this, but also he's done all the other things like he was talking about earlier, right? Once you start to access this information, it always becomes available more and more and more, because you're now connected to that stream of consciousness that is held within your soul, and whatever elements and aspects have ties to whatever that is that you're seeking. And Neil, you do it so beautifully, and I'm always so grateful for the way you are vulnerable and you bring through things. Some of this stuff can cause ripples for people, right? And you do it in such a loving way, bringing it through. And some of the things that you share go against the commonly known narratives. Some of the
Yeah.
things you share illuminate them and, explain the reasons behind it. And I feel like that is hugely important for our continued evolution.
Yeah, exactly. And as I was doing this, I even spoke to my friend Beck, who's here with me. I was saying, like, it's weird. I'm having like procrastination tendencies. My human is in the way, but then there's this big story that I'm also trying to put in. And at some level, I was thinking, like, who am I to tell this story?
Mm.
It's such a massive story of what has occurred, and especially the part of what we're going to get into about the different layers of how simultaneous things were happening on Earth and who was observing what was occurring on Earth. And it's like it's piercing through the veil in the matrix. And I was wondering at one point, what about these other beings? Like, aren't they advanced enough to know this as well? How come we know this, that they're the Matrix, and they can't even perceive it? Just what I got in the last 2 days was that even though we're technically lower dimensional, we actually have more access to the overall bigger picture. So the few of us that actually break through from the veil on this earth, even though there's Lyrans, there's Andromedans, all these other beings, but humans actually have potential to tap into the bigger picture that go even transcends beyond them. And so that is the gift of Earth, is that when we start getting these memories back, that's why we're able to reconcile with the darkness. And a lot of these other beings are still fighting it, rather than realizing the bigger picture of what the darkness really represents.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And I feel like the human, I mean, my soul team collective, those beings, the guide and assistants, that's what I call them, guides plus, right? They have been telling me for most of my life that one of the things we do here is bring deep healing and new perspectives through our experience and the way we choose. So everything that you just said feels so spot on for me. It feels like, you know, my current understanding is we are all of the dimensions. Like there's a version of Neil that's already in what we call fifth dimension, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, all the way up. So we have this conduit to be able to blend and harmonize all of these expressions that we have here in the 3D, but also in our higher dimensional simultaneous lives. We have this beautiful ability to bring harmony, but we can also bring, other things, discordant frequencies based on how we choose, right? And the rest of the universe feels it and experiences it. We will too when we fully lift the veil and step more into a blended version of our higher dimensional with our third dimensional, right? We're not leaving any part of us behind. And I feel like once we remember that unity and oneness, that's when it's going to be pretty magnificent, as well as it is right now. But yeah,
Exactly. So do you want to go ahead and just take the reins for 10 minutes or so and just channel whatever you want to bring forward for Orion?
yeah, sure. I would love to. I'd love to. Thank you. So, what was coming through for me is a lot of what I've said already. To remember that depending on where we place our attention and focus as we're tapping into information, that's the period of time, I'm using air quotes for those of you that are just listening, that we'll be tuning into. So if you go into Orion before the Orion Wars, before the upheaval, you'll see a very different and experience a very different Orion than you would if you were pointed into the Orion Wars and all that transpired in that. And if you go now, which I'm sure Loriette will talk about, our beautiful sister, if you go now, you'll see a very different Orion. And I have such a love for the root race Orions and all of the Orions that have stayed in Orion to pick up the pieces. I have such a deep love for them, regardless of the physical form or non-physical form that they take, right? Because they have for as long as Orion has existed, they've been in charge of caring for and following the source guidance that comes through the nebula. They've been charged with the protection of that and the giant portal in Orion that many of us on Earth incarnate through as we're coming into the halls of Amenti and up into the womb. These are big responsibilities, and they've done so beautifully. And in what Neil will describe, I'm not going to tell too much of it, but in moments of contrast within Orion, it's almost like they've held themselves responsible in so many ways for things that happened that and I say they, but that's us, guys. If we're connected in here, that's us. Like, Neil's gonna fill in some picture, some blanks of the picture, the overall picture today. And even when that was going on with him, he was feeling the responsibility as we were in session of what happened in that moment in time, so to speak, right? And there was a bit of the higher dimensional beings in Orion that are ethereal that were communicating with me during that session, and were saying, help him release that, help him release that, help him release that, right? So we did our best, but he is still feeling, because he's accessed this information, he's still feeling that deep responsibility for that moment. And his soul continued to come in to the Orion experience to attempt to sort of make it right, to turn that situation around. So that tells you how the depth of experience we have from incarnation to incarnation to incarnation, and how we view it through the dimensions of our other simultaneous lives and expressions. And he's still on Earth doing that through this life, right? And this is where we get to deeply dive into the story and the narratives, and really also discern what feels true for us when we're listening to some of these, they're only the good guys, they're only the bad guys scenarios. I am all about, you guys know, I'm all about love and light. I believe we are light and we are love. But I also believe that we have shadows, and we have shadow aspects of consciousness that come from other lives and expressions on both within the earth experience, but also beyond. And that it's all connected in this bigger picture of our soul's blueprint and everything that our soul is currently expressing as and has and will. And it's all happening simultaneously, right? In my perspective. So as we're listening to things like this, it's important to really just tune into your connection with it if you have one. If you don't, just listen with an open heart and an open mind, and feel what rings true for you. And if you have those feelings of heartache or heartbreak or the feeling of deep loss and things like that as you're listening to anyone describe what they're accessing for our beautiful collective, right? For us to expand and heal. Remember to go into forgiveness and love, and remember that even the beings that are playing the villains, you guys, there's some more air quotes for me evidently into that today, but even the beings that are playing the villains, we have some connection with them at some point in our soul's blueprint, or we wouldn't have such a strong reaction to them. Whether we are them in another life or expression, whether we have a connection with them where we played the victim or the villain or the hero with them. I say them, but it is we, right? It is we. From a bigger perspective, we're all in oneness. So the more that we have these experiences and listen to these things and feel these strong emotions, when we have that, drop into the heart and see where we can release the ties that bind and that hold us in suffering and that hold us in pain and that hold us in trauma. Where can we be very intentional about putting our attention and focus on our heart as we're feeling that, not resisting it, not pushing it away because it doesn't feel high vibratory, right? Allowing it to be moving through us, allowing ourselves to feel it and honor it fully, and then hold the intention of bringing it back into the wholeness with forgiveness and love and compassion. And bringing that back into the wholeness will allow it to frequency match with the parts of us that are not experiencing distortion and that are not experiencing that separation consciousness. And it will actually help us to raise our vibration even more after that. We'll feel lighter and brighter. And it helps the collective on earth who are here doing this work. This soul work is what I call it, right? It will help those who are still feeling the effects of it in whatever period of time they're in. We can ripple love and forgiveness to that very moment as it's happening because it happens in the now. So my encouragement for everyone is to allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to experience, and do those things that I've suggested in whatever way feels aligned for you. And allow yourself to just let it move through. And if it's really big, then you know that it's either, probably both, connected to experiences you've had in this life as a human, but also that you have some connection to those fundamental frequencies of loss, pain, betrayal, all of these kinds of things in some life or expression, whether it be within this earth expression as who you are now, or any other life or expression beyond earth or within, right? So you get to empower yourself in and all of us by feeling and allowing yourself to move beyond the limitations of belief, move beyond the limitations of opinion, and go into the actual deep dive of what it is, right? What is that moment showing you? How can you be of service to yourself to uplift and support yourself and bring in healing for yourself? And how can you allow that through intention to ripple out into the oneness field for all to experience? And that's really what I wanted to share, Neil, is just, be mindful and be gentle with yourself and be gentle with them. If you feel like they're the enemy, then that says something about us. That doesn't say anything really about them. It is, everything is reflecting back to us what we're holding. So if you have that they're the enemy, then you're essentially saying that about yourself. You're like, I'm the enemy, because we're all in oneness. Though we can't perceive it, most people, in a constant way right now, it is the way the universe works in my perception.
Yeah. And just having the fact that we have our memories wiped and is just makes it that we are just unaware of the dance that we're playing with these other energies, right? And so looking at them and not realizing what they're actually there for and what lessons and growth we're getting out of this just is a limited perspective. But I really love everything you shared because as you were sharing it, I was like, yes, 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 because you're really setting the tone for the overall energy of the presentation, what it really represents. Because we're going to get into the first part of this is we're just going to get into it's going to seem like a script from a movie, right? And in the script for the movie, there's those good guys and there's those bad guys. right? And that's how it seems until you start piecing together all the other elements of what really was taking place. And like a lot of things in life, if I was to ask somebody out there, could you come up with some really amazing things that happened to you based on some really hardcore challenges and even atrocities and pain? Could you think of some light or some beauty that came out of it, right? My one, for example, is Portal to Ascension. Portal to Ascension came out of child abuse, being abused as a child. That's why I created it, right? And if we can see that in our own life in the day-to-day life, imagine what's happening in the cosmic forces, right? All these are different catalysts for us to wake to a greater truth. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neil. I
I
100%
love you.
agree. I love you too. And thank you, everyone, for being here for this. It is very, very, very important. So thank you.
Yeah, I
And
love
hi,
you so much,
Rebecca.
Bridget.
I love you
Let's do
too.
this. All right. Let's go ahead and Flo wasn't gonna make it, but he is here. So I'm thinking we'll have Flo and then we'll have Loriette come on afterwards because Loriette's information is definitely instrumental in what I'm going to be speaking about today because her story came up during my regression. So I'm curious to know because I sent her, she would listen to the recording of the regression, believe it or not, most of it at least. And so she has some notes and some dots that she's going to hopefully connect for us before we begin. So let's bring on Flo.
Oh my gosh, that makes my heart so happy. I just wanted to say that you sent that to her.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Hey, brother.
Hey, great to be
Hey,
here.
man. Thank you for making it, Flo. I love you.
Yeah, sorry, I mixed up the schedule a little and I've been in meditation all day. And you know how you have those days in life where you just gotta like you get pulled deep into like emotions and exploring yourself. And I went really deep
Yeah,
today
man.
and I thought it was gonna be one of those days where I just meditate all day. I haven't done that in a while. And
Mm,
then I saw your message. So I feel this is very fitting to speak on Orion today. So
right.
I'm very honored to be here.
I'm happy you're here too. And the reason why I asked you last minute yesterday was because we're creating an Orion conference together. So spoiler alert for everyone, next year we're doing a whole conference on Orion. And Flo and I speak a lot about Orion and what happened there. We even come up with a hip hop song called Orion Kings
Yes, sir.
at one point. So we got a deep Orion connection, Flo and I. And when it comes to Flo, when he thinks of Orion, especially over the last year, we had conversations, a lot of emotions come up, a lot of heaviness comes up. So I wanted you to just kind of just speak from your heart what you feel about this system, what it represents to you, and what it means for the evolution of humanity.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. So Orion is very dear to not only my heart, but to the collective Akashic records of humankind. When I trace the stories of precious Orion, I go back to many epics, many cycles, a very long period in the Akashic records of humankind. And to me, Orion is a petri dish of creation coexisting together. It's very similar to Earth on that level, where on planet Earth, we have one predominant species at this moment with diversity, but in Orion, we had diverse species. So rather than one species acting from different dimensional planes of existence, we had a multi-dimensional species. I mean, we had a multi-species society that was coexisting. And oftentimes I tell people, if you want to know about Orion, watch Star Wars. I have no doubt that George Lucas was channeling Orion for his movies, in particular, the Galactic Wars. But when you watch Star Wars, for example, you often get took into like these various hubs, sometimes villages, sometimes metropolitan headquarters. But as you go into those cities in Star Wars, you see these cultures where many sort of species coexist. And this to me is the essence of Orion. Orion is a creative hub of species interactions where we learned how to interact from different angles and come together. And my memories on Orion are very deep and very multifaceted. For example, I have a really good friend who was royalty on Orion, and I saw myself as like his little fairy wizard who is microscopic, even though he was a grand leader, and I was exploring the quantum field in my fairy wizard self, just performing magic. Then I have lifetimes experiencing myself as a dragon on Orion, where the dragons are very predominant in this star system, and they played a major role in the culture. I have so many stories, but I'm just trying to keep it on point. It's very connected to the civilization of Egypt, I find, Orion. When I've explored in a meditative state the Egyptian pyramids, and I've gone to like certain rooms. I have visited in physical, but when I visited it more in the astral, etheric space, I entered one room in the pyramids, and this was the Great Pyramid of Giza, and it looked like a sort of portal. There was a portal in this room, and I was in the timeline of past Egypt. So I went to this room and I entered it. And when I entered it, I was immediately taken to another planet. And it kind of looked like Earth, where there's blue skies, but there are these kind of like strange looking black domes spread out throughout the lands. There was green grass, blue sky like Earth, but these strange sort of black domes were scattered. And I saw these beings walking by me in the outside wearing all black. So I was like, okay, what is going on here? And my first thought was, are these people going to notice that there's a human here? But every time I walk by them, they just they ignored me. So I'm like, okay, I'm blending in. So I end up going into one of these temples, or these black temples, and I saw a being on a table, like a Reiki table, and they were surrounded by all these other beings, and the society was just reeling divine light into that person on the table, kind of like Reiki or hands of healing. And I instantly became aware that this was a very advanced society where I didn't know where I was at that moment, that was harnessing divine light rays to heal. So I started to explore more, and they begin to communicate to me that that portal I entered in the main pyramid in Giza took me to Orion's belt, a planet in Orion's belt, and why people were wearing black. And it's interesting, I'm wearing black today, and I never wear black. And I just kind of like put on the first shirt I saw so I could hop onto Zoom. They were all wearing black because their atmosphere was somehow affected and the sun was damaging their skin. This is why they had to like cover themselves in particular suits and have these sort of temples to protect the solar radiation from affecting their operating system, so to speak. So that made me realize the deep connection between Egypt and Orion. And of course, the pyramids are aligned under Orion's belt. But there's something deeper that I hope we, as Starseed Collective and a planetary consciousness, can explore. It's like, okay, why did the ancient Egyptian societies have so much reverence for Orion? And my thoughts in this moment, just like being an oracle slash channeler, is what took place in Orion in the Galactic Wars, and Orion's much more than Galactic Wars. But there was a traumatic effect through those wars, which prolonged for a long time. And what I gauged was individuals in ancient Egypt, they were aware of the quantum field, they were aware of their past life galactic origins, and they understood that to heal themselves from what just transpired in Atlantis, they would have to go back to the time period of Orion and bring peace to that timeline. And unfortunately, I find that the effects from the Galactic War are still flowing into our current day world. Even in when I track Israel Palestine, it takes me back to the Orion Wars. So we need the medicine we can take from this is we are all quantum beings. We have an access to the multiverse. We have access to the past, the future, the quantum intelligence, and us as starseeds, as awakened humans on planet Earth, we can heal this Orion timeline through these gatherings, through the conferences that we're creating, etc., through the music, and return back to the true medicine of Orion. And to me, the true medicine of Orion is technology, is co-creation, is species working together in harmony, is governmental structures being created. And this was the true beauty of Orion. And my prayer is we can, in our quantum prayers, in our quantum meditations, in these gatherings, can bring peace to that timeline and also bring peace to our current timeline on Earth. So just a moment to close your eyes and placing your hands in prayer over your heart and just sending peace to your body, because all our bodies are connected with all creation. And I'm sending a prayer that all our bodies are blessed with peace, healing, compassion, and this way to harmonize and restore us back to the golden timelines is through that self-forgiveness and compassion inside. For everything is holographic in existence, and our body, all the trillions of cells, all the organs, is a representation of all the universe. So we can use the holographic nature of existence to transform the external by bringing the balance to ourselves. And this is the message that the Orion Star Guides just want to share with you all today, to never, and it may sound cliche, but it's a deep truth, never underestimate the power of your consciousness and how your healing affects all of creation. We are in a paradoxical reality, and the internal reflects the external, and Orion lives on. So just to finally conclude, we know about a little about the story of Orion, and we know about the wars, but where is Orion right now? That's in this moment, even though time space is super paradoxical. We won't go into that. But in this moment, Orion is healing. Orion is rebuilding. And we have to remember that Orion lives on. It's not just a past story, it's a present story. And they are our brothers and sisters. And I give gratitude. I give gratitude to these gatherings. So I just wanted to give a little quick message. I don't know if you have any questions to any of that, but that's my heart
That's
with
beautiful,
Orion,
man.
man.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't know if you heard Bridget, but Bridget was giving the bigger picture of like what comes up for you when you're in this event, how it's all about really healing, and also how Bridget and I often speak about the darkness really being that shadow aspect. I remember one time you told me in an event that the reptilians are the shadow work. You said that once a long time ago, and so what you just said right now about the true medicine of Orion, and it's almost like you're psychic, bro, because this is literally in the presentation. How your healing affects all of creation. That is that is some true medicine, especially when it comes to Orion and where Orion is right now. Something that came to me, and we'll get into the presentation, was that Orion, eons have passed since this experience. Things have shifted
Mm,
and changed. But for some of us, it just happened yesterday because we just incarnated from there.
mm.
So it's like
Wow.
we're bringing things as if we just experienced it, whereas the star system has moved forward in many different ways.
Yes. And I know these events are always like perfect alignment with timing. And, one of the
Exactly.
messages I was getting in meditation today was, okay, we're in shadow season right now. This is like the time where you go into the shadows. And like, it couldn't be more fitting that we're exploring Orion because its shadow has impacted our culture in every epic we've been in thus
Yeah,
far.
man. That's literally why I chose today for the event, Scorpio season, deep dive. And it's
Yep.
just, I mean, we as everybody again tuning in on YouTube, we're gonna go into just the presentation in about 20 minutes. We have one more guest, then we're cutting it. If you want to join, we have 111 people on YouTube tuning into this right now.
Wow.
And so which is a good number. And so if you guys want to join the actual event and webinar, go ahead and click the link there. And we're going to get deep into all of this information and awareness on a even deeper level here. But I just wanted to share as well that, I agree with you. Like, when the dragon energy came, I didn't even know the year the dragon was coming up, and all of a sudden dragons were everywhere, right? Even before I even knew about it. And now, the reason why I feel so many people tuned in so immediately to this is because the Orion energy is so important right now for us on the healing level. It's the next layer. And I feel almost like the year of the dragon and the year of the serpent, obviously the dragons are connected to Orion, but the serpent energy is connected to the reptilians who we're speaking about today. And so these 2 years are really in alignment with the symbolism of Orion. When you say
Yes.
Flo?
Oh, no, I'm just agreeing with you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
you're
so
reading,
I'm excited.
are you picking up on my thought waves? Because I did want to
I
say
think
something before
so.
I check it. Okay, so I have like this theory that every decade in human civilization is sponsored by a star system. And when I go to the 80s, it's like Orion energy. It's like the movies, the music, like the electronic computeristic music, ET. Like I don't know, remember the movie ET. So I always had like this weird thought, like there's something about the 80s and Orion. Even Star Wars, like that's when it got popular. And then the universe always gives you like little hidden messages. And like the biggest film company at that time was Orion. I don't know if you remember, if you're an 80s, I was born in the 80s, but more a 90s kid. But the movies would start with Orion. And there's just something about the 80s. And the last thing I'll say before I check out is if you get a chance, that's going to sound funny, go to Disneyland or Disney World because the Star Wars area is a trip. I was like, I'm in freaking Orion. It was an insane experience.
Whoa. So does the one in Orlando have that too?
Yep.
So we'll see it when we go to Disney World.
Sounds good, brother.
Yep. Love you,
Okay.
brother. Thank you,
Love
Flo.
you, man.
Okay, we'll talk soon. All right, so we're gonna get into our last guest before we go into the Orion Reptilian DNA War Galactic presentation. And Loriette, I'm not gonna do too much of introduction. I've introduced her before because I want to just get into it. But I do want to say that the first time I spoke to Loriette, she was still she's a straight up ambassador of Orion, and I mean that in the truest sense. And when we first had a conversation about Orion, she didn't want to talk about the wars. She was like, too many people speak about the wars. There's so much that has happened beyond the wars, and many times So when we've had her present on Portal to Ascension, she doesn't speak about those wars, or she touches on it a little bit and gives a bigger picture, also a very different picture than what we have with our limited awareness of maybe the traumas that we're receiving. So I wanted to bring her on today for a couple of things. I wanted her to finally speak about it. I wanted you to actually talk about it, and I want to get a different her a perspective on it that goes beyond the wars and just see what she is receiving. She also, I gave her my regression. It was 3 hours, and I think she listened to half of it, which is pretty cool. That's how good of a friend she is. She sat and listened to me being regressed for an hour and a half. So I want to see kind of what she has to share and experience. So, Loriette, thank you for being here.
Hey, fam. Actually, I listened the whole recording yesterday night. I'm here. I'm very grateful for you because finally you have find you give a place for Orion, because it's like a shadow. Nobody speak about Orion, or if they speak about something bad happened there. And literally my heart is pumping right now. It's because I can't even tell you how many emotions running through me right now, because not only I feel the heaviness of these memory people have around Ryan, and I feel the responsibility to help harmonize, like we are doing today, and in the event we've done with Bridget. Hi, Bridget. And we've done this summer Reptilians, shadow work, and 3 episodes, and that was a lot of downloads. But today, I don't want to speak about the downloads. I don't want to speak about the bad stuff happening in Orion only. I only have 20 minutes. I will try my best to give you the intention of my people. Neil know me well, and he knows that I will never speak about something I don't know or I don't touch in person. And I have deep respect for every star origins. I have my background is a contactee, starseed, and channeler. So I have met these beings few times, many times in my life, and for me this is a huge part of my life. It's not something past. It's not something, even though the time doesn't exist for the soul, it's all happening now. And maybe that's why it's so a hot topic. It's still on a hot topic, Orion. I think I wanted to connect with the regression Niels did, just to start. And Neil, if you want to, I wanted to tell you something. Are you here, Neil?
Okay. Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you so much for being so vulnerable and send me the regression. We haven't the time to speak well yesterday. In these days, I was very messy, very busy, but it means a lot. And I've spent 2 hours, 3 hours yesterday. Because I'm not, I'm Italian, so English it's a little bit difficult sometimes for me, and so I repeat some part you were saying, and in that moment I was like asking myself some stupid, not stupid, but like question. Even though I have contact with these beings, even though I've met them, even though I have full remembrance, there is still some suspect, I don't know, about who were the bad guys, if we have done the right thing, if we were acting in the right way, if I remember well. And then at some point in the regression of Neil, basically he was speaking about the portals, and the guardian of the portals. And at some point, Orion, like my star family, like called me and say, like, Loriette, you know, you were there. Why you were asking? And I was like, maybe I was speaking with them, and maybe I feel the responsibility that we were in charge to protect that space. And even though I know these, and this is something I want to share with the people, the beings from the belt were humanoid beings. Alnilam, Alnitaka, and Mintaka are the 3 stars I'm referring to right now. And there are many planets around these 3 stars, but I'm referring to the humanoid 3 type of humanoids, like 3 different races, 3 different but similar entity. And we are not anymore in need of a body, so we have the ability of living the physical body. And so even at the time we were not deeply physical. We choose to maintain a physical aspect because we want to honor life, but we were multidimensional. So in how can I say, in a dimension different from the 3D, very different, very far. So the story of the Neteru, the story of the Guardian of the Belt, I've speak about in the other video with Neil, is a story of benevolent being. These beings lose all. And when I say lose all in the wars, it's not because they lose the physicality, because the body can recreate and regenerate, because there are warriors, there are guardians that protect the innocent world in this. And nobody speak about that. Orion is only a shadow, is only something to fear. And nobody says that Orion was the first place to be attacked by this interferent entity that possessed some bodies around all the universe. So the thing I feel important today is to let you understand and to let you perceive by yourself, by the frequency you are listening right now, and then judge yourself if I'm saying the truth or not. Neil called me ambassador. I hope to be even decent in representing and honor these beautiful beings, because I love them so much, and I want people to know that them and us, the Guardian, the Arcturians, the Syrian, the Palladians, all together built alliance to protect the innocent world. So the natural were in the first place and are still doing this right now for the innocent world, even though Orion is protected. They were in charge of protection of the innocent world. They have important connection with the nebula. The nebula has a cosmic egg that was important to protect. They were like being created by the nebula only to be the guardian of the nebula. So it's like a tree that have a spirit of a tree that protects the tree, the elemental of the tree. So the Neteru was the protector of the nebula. So they're like entity that been created only to like immunitary system of the nebula. So they're really linked. They have different capacity that is directly linked to the nebula, but they're not the only inhabitants of Orion. There were mammals, aquatic beings. There was beautiful whales. There is life. There is benevolent reptilian, benevolent humanoids, and all of these entities are all often forget because we tend to just speak about some of the darkness that happened, but nobody says that Orion was one of the first place to be attacked. And then what's happened next? It's been shared in different star systems. So what happened in Orion happened even in different star systems, but it's like a loop, and we only remember what's happening in Orion. only in Orion, like it's all, but we remember Orion because all start there, and because the huge trauma is linked to the nebula, because we knew that if some kind of a portal and some kind of access were violated by these beings, it was very dangerous, because the nebula has a central stargate that connects directly to all the star that has been created by the nebula, so whole the galaxy. So all the universe was like breathless when the first violation happened, you know, from these beings came from outside the universe, because we knew that if someone with bad intention violate the nebula, would be a harm, a danger for the whole universe, so the innocent planet. And there is a reason why exists a council. There is a reason why exists Orion Council, Light Council, Confederation. I don't know how you call it, because they don't give this name. They created to protect. So the story of Orion is beautiful, and it's beautiful because in this darkness we unite the forces, we unite in love. We had this kind of Neil, you mentioned the technology. There was someone who stole the technology of terraforming or creating planet, and this is just an example of the power that has Orion. But Orion has its power not because wanting to show the power, it's just because there is the geographical place where the nebula is born, and the nebula is a creator, is a spirit, but is not God, is an emanation of God, is an organ like the divine feminine, and nobody remember that. We always speak about different politician group, races and division, but this is the opposite of Orion. Orion represents itself with number 8 or the number 14, that are the range of dimension they cover, to 8 to the 14th dimension. And they always repeated to me, 14 is the key of coming back and coming back home. So the 14 is the key. I don't know what it means, but it's like they trying to say you have to come back home to remember what happens, to put the piece together. And a lot of starseed have intact memories. You, Neil, speak about even that some of us came with intact memory, some of us has the memory erased. What they explained to me is that people like I consider myself, you know, a freak, because it's not easy to remember. It's a burden. I remember a lot of things that I think people shouldn't remember, and there is a reason why we have like some kind of protection to not remember everything. And I don't remember like the dangerous stuff, the key of access of the portals. Even though I have remembrance, I couldn't even be able to process it in my brain, because there is a formal block, a formal protection that our star family put to, even because we were there, they still trust us, and they know that we still need to protect this information. In the wrong hand, they're still the same information. It's not because the time has passed, this information is not in danger, you know? We learn about the past. It's not because we don't need to have to trust others, but because Orion was a place of love, a Eden, like pure love, benevolent beings. They didn't have enemy. And so we need to learn about the mistake of the past. Maybe we were too open, maybe it was all there, and it's like a huge you know, plate of fruit, and of course some entity from outside find it interesting. So all this abundance, all this access, all this power were under the eyes of the universe. So of course some entity from outside that didn't know the importance of the nebula, because they were maybe technology advanced but unconscious, they stole this information, they violate this place, But one thing it's important is that the Natural never referring to them as something enemy. They always says they have compassion for them, and usually they spend time, the guardians spend time with these parasites, trying to convince them to go in the opposite side before of being maybe pushed out or destroyed in case of huge danger for others. So they're like psychologists that speak with this entity a lot. So they start to love those entity and have compassion to this entity. It's not they experience this darkness because they were not in balance or our universe were not in balance. But some planets needed this experience to grow, but not, it's not because this experience happened in some places that places was not evolved or not, don't have enough tools to understand the good and bad and harmonize. No, they were all already in peace. They were already harmonized. They were pure, just like animal. They don't have guilt. They don't have nothing to do with duality and stuff. But they, as the whole universe, has to accept that this darkness exists. So the only thing we can do at the time was unite, protect the sector. And another part I want to touch before to go is that the portal part. Neil, you said about some Stargate. Maybe you will touch some points, and I wanted to give you this piece. Maybe you can find it. I don't know if you want to speak about your regression in this presentation.
Oh, I will do it in my presentation. Yeah, it'll be in there. Mm-hmm.
So the only thing I wanted to harmonize is that this was a place of nature, like without conflict, without any kind of uh, contrast. Every beings respect the other. They don't go in another planet to violate. They were in peace before this event. And then this entity came from outside, go near to our star area and start to infiltrate. And so they possess body, so they possess some guardians, they possess some guards of the story of the reptilian queens, the story of many other planets, and not only in Orion, they did in Sirius, they did in some part of Pleiades. So they possess some very trusted Pleiadians. So I remember this story. I remember I was there, and I think if some people don't remember this story, is because maybe they are not old enough. But this story happens in every part of the universe. So the only thing I want to share is, how can I say, trust the energy of the beings, honor the work they've done, not because they've done to be adored. They just deserve to be respect, not as and not see as monster, because they spend their whole existence guarding the access to innocent planets, to other dimension, and they cannot. And what Orion, my team always remember me is that we could not do any better because we protect the innocent planets. It could destroy the all existence if it go in the wrong way. So Orion now is protected, it's safe. There are rebels that have been pushed away, and they still doing this work for every innocent planet in danger. The things is not finished in Orion. Other area, other star, now Orion is protected, but then they try and try again all over the universe. And so the Guardians still working. And I think because I saw them, because I love their energy, I'm part of them, but at the same time I have family there, and I've met a lot of people like Neil and like other Arcturians, for example, mixed with Orion, that were assisting that portals. And I can only say that I wanted to give them the honor and say thank you for what we've been able to do all together, because we made it to protect. So we cannot do any other way, because some darkness needed to be experienced for the rest of planets in a way of evolution. So they needed this darkness in order to evolve. And so it's a divine intelligent decision. So we have to take away the responsibility, because the betrayal, because all the bad stuff happened. And I can tell to people, like, I still assist in the astral, sometimes heavy, like operation hybridization program and broken entity. And so for the love of all the people like me that see this darkness happenings and this beauty of, you know, some hybrid that awake and then be like starseeds, like soul of a starseeds inside an hybrid, and, you know, like a glitch in the matrix, a virus in the, you know, this darkness is try to enter. We've been able with our love, because when a body is being created, a soul come to live inside the body. So the soul is divine. So every soul that came to inhabit that body needs help. So the guardians work all together to maintain some kind of order in this chaos, in this chaotic attempts. And so I think people don't know enough of how the struggle of the beauty, the pure heart they have while they're doing this, while they protect us. So like them, there are even benevolent reptilians, that maybe dragons, uh, sauroids, that really defend us and protect, and has like this fire energy to purify and transmutate all the pain, all this energy. And at the same time, then Turu do it the same with fire energy, with feminine energy, that all inside all these and transmuted in love. So this is Orion, not the shadow we are usually speak about. And the only part I want to add for you, and then I silence myself, the important part is that in the regression of Neil, there was a moment when he speak about the portals, the Stargate, and he says the natural Stargates start to die. And that part was linked to one of my memories, and in reality, they're not dying. It's like the nebula start to like turn off the natural stargates, because was generating too high energy and was attracting too much danger. So in my past video with Neil, I explained the connection between the queens and the nebula, and the key to open certain natural portals that are natural created by the nebula. And so these portals are never died, because they are inside the queens of Orion, inside the reptilian queens, inside the humanoid queens. So a queen, for those who didn't listen, is just like a perfect container, you know, created only with a pure heart to protect the information. So a queen can never be evil on purpose, or maybe is aggressive to defend the information, maybe have some kind of strong energy, fire, but it's never created by the source in a negative way. It's like, you know, in the animal, in nature, there are queens that are made to contain information and protect. And so the cosmic hag keys in etherical DNA and actual DNA are all old into some DNA of the queens. So whenever some portal got turned off or get destroyed, the portal were being reactivated by queens. So with my horrible, I know Neil hates when I say, but with my horrible English right now, what I'm trying to explain, it's difficult, is that there are queens that move near the portals and thousands of starship that follow a queens because this entity, unconscious darkness, how we can call these shadows, know exactly that a queen can open portals. So queen needs protection to move around universe, and if want to open a portal in a specific location, she has to work with guardians to open these portals, and so queen are very protected. And so queen were under attack, and guardians lost their souls, literally soul get destroyed to protect the queens. So this story is not a story that we can forget, because it's a story of love. We've done all of this to protect the innocent world and planet, and queens and guardians lost maybe their souls in order to protect the other innocent world. And this is Orion. Orion do this without ego, without attachment, just to, okay, we need to do it because otherwise it's in danger the rest. So I know it can sound dramatic, but someone needed to tell this, because it's a story of like real service. We always speak about service. It's not sacrifice,
Right.
it's an act of love. For them, it's not sacrifice.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Loriette. And that's why I wanted all three of you on. You heard Flo and Bridget, and for those tuning in, not only did you get a lot of information here, but a lot of it, if you are new to Orion, we're jumping all over the place. We're kind of giving away the end in some ways. So when I do the presentation, we'll kind of go through a linear perspective here. But I really wanted to bring you on for your perspective, because I'm going to go into a specific story, as you know from the regression, of specific race of beings that had a reptilian connection. Not till the end of my presentation do you start realizing our connection to reptilians and the bigger picture. So it's easy for us to blanket statement one race as negative. And if you know anything or seen any of our other presentations we did, for all of you on YouTube, go and watch the 3-part series we did on the reptilians a year ago, right? 3 hours each with Loriette, Bridget as well, where we do these deep dives on the benevolent reptilians. So since the story really isn't about those races, I wanted to have that discussion beforehand to let you guys know that there is a lot of different races in the universe. And not only do we have reptilian DNA in us, and even reptilian souls that live those lives incarnated in our human bodies, right? But also that creation isn't just one way or another. And it's not like all humans were technically doing positive things. But one thing that's very interesting that you also spoke about is that, from what I'm realizing, is even the hijacking of the Stargates, the coming through the portal, the taking of technology came from a wound, another wound. And it was almost like hurt people. These beings had suffered some sort of wound, and their solution was this other solution that created another wound. And sometimes things are done very unconsciously and unintentionally. And through that unconsciousness, we end up creating wounds and trauma within the galaxy. And it doesn't per se mean that those beings are evil, right? When you get to a place of fear, when you get to a place of fight or flight, and people or beings, they are capable of many different things. And when you get to fear, when you do something bad, what are you trying to do? You're trying to protect yourself, and that protection comes from that fear of feeling that you need that protection, feeling disconnected. So I wanted you to kind of speak on that. So thank you for jumping into that. But before you say anything more, I just want to jump on a couple other things that you said here. Oh yeah, and then also your perspective of the Natiru and what they knew about darkness and all that. And there were so many different civilizations that interacted, and each different civilization had their own soul group, their own memories, their own consciousness. So many different groups perceived it differently. Some of them probably perceived it as like, well, we have compassion for them. Some of them may have had an actual, maybe some sort of resentment or anger towards them, you know. And what I'm really appreciating from what you're giving me, and this is why I wanted to do it, because I wanted to hear all your perspectives, and then from that bigger understanding, I want to speak about the presentation and go into that. So I appreciate everything you shared. Do you want to share anything else based on what I just said before we start?
Yeah, because I hope, first of all, I hope it's all linear. I don't know, because when I go in channeling, and I have so many information, and so it's very difficult for me to know if I'm understandable in another language. So first thing, I hope to be understandable. The second things that I forget, that was the main, central and centered point of view I should have when I speak about this, is that there, there is no division. The soul is just a soul. They don't use definition. Uh, there is love, there is light, there is conscious and unconscious. It's not bad or good. It's just they are aware that there is conscious beings and unconscious, and they respect even the unconscious beings. Their importance is not interfere with the innocent planet in way of evolution, because there are sacred laws of balance in the universe. It's sacred laws, I mean really divine laws that are sacred and cannot be moved, otherwise it's very dangerous. So those guardians, and I mean all guardians in the universe, not only the Orion guardian, have a specific organization made by the divine plan to be in their place and defend the nebula, because there are many nebulas with many cosmic hag, many ruler with their cosmic hag in all around the universe. And so there was background of unity. So this unity was important, just to remember that in any of the things you will listen, you never have to forget that Orion beings are wise beings, and if they maybe don't give some access to some portals to everyone, it's not because they want the power from themselves, or maybe the queen have now the only access to some portals. It's just because they learned from the past, and the order came from the divine source. So from the divine source that's sending the order to nebulas, and nebulas decided that some stargates needed to be only managed by some trusted entity in charge to do this, and only this. So when we go regression, I have, Neil, that I have a lot of memories when we go into the regression. And I don't do regression because it's not a good thing for me, because I'm too much in that part and I need to eradicate more in the 3D. But the more we deep dive into the regression, into the memories, we want to know more, to know how this portal was functioning, how this wound was made. But actually, it's just our human perspective, seeing this, experience this in this humans, in this human, glasses we have right now. This perspective is in 3D, in duality. And so what we are reading about our alien memory is not the actual knowledge we have. Maybe when we go in astral, maybe when we die, we are free from the 3D. And so this memory of the soul, of course, there are soul that has very deep wounds to heal, even at soul level. But what I'm trying to say, that some starseeds feel the heaviness because they're still trying to, in the awakening, to integrate the memories and know how to read it in the correct way. So just to say, nothing bad is happening in Orion. Right now, there are still portals, there are still guardian of portals, there are more, just more caution. they closed a lot of portals, and access is like impossible to enter and to go out without the permission of a Natural or guardians, how we want to call. And guardian can be even Arcturians, Orions. So usually the most mainly figure I saw when I contact them, they are Arcturians and Orion that control the Orion belt beings. There are many fallen entity other than the reptilian that has been possessed in this ancient world, as well as the tall gray, white grays. But that doesn't mean that they are all evil, even
Yeah.
though there's some kind of wounds in that, even in myself, because I have clear memories of how their DNA was changing. And I know there's a lot of things that have been now restructured. So the cosmic hag existed and still exists. So they're able with technology to recreate planets if got destroyed. Even I have a memory, and this is something I want to share and then close, that in Sirius, I don't remember which planet, but there were amphibious or humanoid beings, amphibious humanoid, like aquatic being. There was this planet that has been completely erased, destroyed by some kind of radiation, some kind of attack by this entity that were not from Orion. They possess some entity all around the universe, includes Orion entities. And in that particular occasion, this destroy of Sirius was being made by some guards of Sirius being possessed that enter from the inside that destroy this planet. And I remember being one of those guardians that go with this little sample of, I think we're just like plants and vegetation to recreate. We have this shape and we start to, with this technology of the cosmic of the nebula, we were helping to recreate the planet. And so we took away the people before the attack and then recreate this place. That just only in case of attack. Otherwise, a nature would never access this kind of technology for themselves or for power. And the peace has been always maintained there. Nobody never thought to stole one of these powerful technology to use by themselves, because we share like a knowledge of love, like it's a collective memory of the laws of the universe. So nobody used this technology to harm other in Orion. It's only been stole by this entity that were from outside this universe. So it's an example. And since then, Sirian and Orion holds a huge cooperation, because there was a love and respect, because they help them recreate their planet without, like in a blink of an eye, and risking their life and being destroyed sometimes. So I think nobody says that these guardians are respected, are loved, like part of family of those other races, because they're always coming when something horrible happens to help, save their ass. So it's horrible to say like that, but it give you like a real example of what's happened up there, what's happening, and
Yeah.
how the all it's just like a huge big exotic family of different breeds and entity. And in the starship of one star origins or other, you can find a lot of different beings. So an Orion starships are that are immaterial, not material, even in how can I say, plasmatic way,
So
but
let's go
even
into those aspects we'll in our interviews that we do, because you're going into different topics now, you know. But we're going to do a series of interviews and we've done some, so we'll release that when we do that.
in Barcelona.
Give me a
In
give me a
Barcelona,
closing statement.
I hope we make to go to Barcelona and do that to close, just to keep your heart open and try to not be interfere about your mind that what you read about Orion and what you heard about. Remember that there's a feminine energy that is the nebula that creates star, and star is the star nursery, and it's been confirmed by science, and you can see in the other interviews how I explained, because we don't have time. It's so much of downloads, we don't have time. Just remember that this is not a place of division. This is a place of union where a lot of people unite to, you know, face the challengings, we can say, that happen at that time. So is even a place of coming back to oneness, because it's not only the place where the star have been born, but it's the place where a lot of us meet. Maybe I meet Neil up there. Who knows? I
Yeah,
think I think
we have
that.
relationships there. No, it's gotta be, it's gotta be. Loriette, thank you so much. I love you.
Thank you. I
Okay, we'll
have to
talk
go.
soon.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye. All right, everybody.
Bye.
So let's do this. Okay, so thank you for listening to that and the last three presentations. And we're getting into it now. In about 1 minute here, we're going to start the PowerPoint. Again, now if you're on YouTube, we're about to close the stream on YouTube. Go to portalascension.org, upcoming events. It's pinned there. You can come and register for this. Now, the reason why I wanted to do that is because I had this regression. I had a few regressions. I had a plant medicine experience. We're going to go over all of these. And in these experiences, I got my perspective. And I already know and have vetted out these other individuals that have had their own perspectives. And just from listening to them, a lot of information has now come out. Bridget spoke about the healing and the bigger picture. Flo spoke about his memories there. And Loriette spoke about the benevolent side of it all and how you can't really say that one side was good or bad, and how to lead with compassion. And I feel all of those are instrumental and reminders for me and for everybody tuning in as well in regards to what we're going to experience now. And now we're getting into it. So thank you for sitting through that and being there, because this is not going to be rushed. This presentation is about an hour and a half ish. And we have some regressions you're going to listen to, a couple of minutes here and there. We have a lot of slides. We have a visual experience that we're going to experience together. And the energy of what it took to put this on, guys, oh my God, the anxiety I had, the procrastination, the memories that were coming up. I kept trying to remind myself to breathe and just to be at peace with this whole thing. Bridget texted me a little while ago when I was telling her what was coming up for me, and she said, just do it with harmony. I kept breathing. So much was coming up. I could feel all of this, all these memories coming back. And even though I'm in this world and do these events, the memories coming back to me have only been happening the last 2 years. I started doing events in 2008, full-time 2016. Only for the last 2 years are memories coming back like this. And for example, I can right now recall, just like it was yesterday, my memories of being with the dragons. I can recall a lot of what happened here. As soon as these regressions happened, these memories got solidified in me. And a part of that is this is also a part of your story. You're coming and you're a part of this because of that. And so I feel it's important for us to be present with it, if you are called to be present with it, so we can go through this journey together and to understand the bigger picture. This isn't just story time. This isn't just, let me tell you a story of a galactic history, and this is fun and all games and all, it is exciting and it's fun. Don't get me wrong, it's an incredible story, but there's a deeper level of it, right? We're portal to ascension. We're not a fictional story creating organization here to create stories just for your entertainment. We're literally here to do a deeper level with this awareness. So the first slide has an audio clip on it, which is 1 minute long, that's called Why Orion. So I'm going to play this for everybody, even on YouTube, and you're going to listen to it right now, the regression. And when we asked in the end, well, Bridget asked me, why are we taken to these specific lives in Orion? This is what we got. So here we go. Let me know if you cannot hear
You
this
chose to
starting now.
bring forward these lives in Orion because that's what his heart was wanting to access. Why these lifetimes? What is so important about the lives and expressions in Orion?
It is one of the deepest wounds of the galaxy, one of the deepest wounds on Earth. not the only wound, one of the deepest. It is instrumental in portal to ascension and the work to be speaking about this. Plus, portal to ascension is really connected to Orion because it is an answer to the descension of Orion. So even though there's a lot of other beings and other agendas and intentions playing on Earth and running through portal to ascension, portal to ascension's creation had a lot to do with that system. So this is one of the deepest wounds, not the only wound, right? And the reason why I was taken there is actually Portal to Ascension is a technology, and technology is an Orion technology. It's not for Orion only. It's obviously we're doing like Arcturian events, Palladian events, ancient history events, self-empowerment events, but it was a technology from Orion. So what I got in the regression was that the reason why Orion is so important to bring this energy forward is because the creation of Portal to Ascension is from it, and one of the deepest wounds that we need to learn from. So I'm going to go ahead and now stop the stream on YouTube. So everybody tuning in on YouTube, if you want to join portalcentral.org, go ahead and sign up there. Stopping the live stream now.